Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to March Mystery Madness. That's a big BookTube event. I'm sure you've seen it in your subscription feed where a dozen terrific BookTubers, plus myself, are extolling the joys of murder mysteries all throughout the month of March. And we're doing a Goodreads group. There are live sprints, there are live streams, there are all kinds of videos. It's wonderful. It's designed not only to celebrate murder mysteries, but of course to cross-pollinate with references, with recommendations, because we all read stuff that the others don't read, and it's tremendous fun. I'm one of the hosts, and I'm having a ball. And I'm on this channel drawing attention more to new releases than maybe to older items or sentimental favorites or whatnot. And the one that I want to mention today, I'm sorry about the lighting of the video. Every light in the room is on and at maximum, but it is dark as midnight here in Boston. So it has been all day, just sleeting down ice all day. So it's not so much of a problem when it's deterring you from seeing my lovely face, but I actually have a cover to show you. And not only that, but it's a cover on my Kindle, which is hard enough to show you in dodgy lighting. I'm going to try it anyway, and I'll just angle it around to make sure. This is a historical murder mystery series that I want to recommend. I have been enjoying it quite a bit. It's not without its flaws, but I want to recommend it. I don't know so much want to recommend this particular book. This book is the fourth in the series. And you know, I read it just yesterday because of March Mystery Madness, and also because it was on my docket, and I've been reading the series all along, so it was of interest to me. But because of March Mystery Madness, I was thinking whether or not a newcomer could read this book on its own without reading any of the others. And you know, I think you could. I think a lot of our authors nowadays are so adept at what they're doing that that's not going to be a bar to reading. What you're going to miss is something we've mentioned before about books and series, and it won't be the last time. We'll be talking about books and series all month long. What you're going to miss is the nuances, the finer payoffs, what in 21st century DVD culture would be called the Easter eggs. Those callbacks and references and whatnot are often very sweet surprises in any book. For a long-time reader, they're supposed to pay off that loyalty, and you will miss that if you come to this cold. So the series is The Praetorian, and it's by S.J.A. Turney. And we're going to try and make this visible. The latest one is Lions of Rome. How can we make this visible? Can we make this visible? Okay, that's not that bad. I won't hold it up forever like this, I promise. It's just a bloody Roman toga with a knife and whatnot. It's not. I just wanted you to see it so that you would know roughly what it looks like. This is these are novels. They're Roman action murder mystery novels set in an odd setting. Ordinarily, Roman historical novels and Roman historical mysteries are set in the tumultuous period in which Rome went from a late republic to an early empire. So Julius Caesar, Augustus Caesar, that sort of thing, Antony and Cleopatra. That period is usually when the bulk of these things are set, and for a very good reason, because that period is staggeringly well documented. So you can get into the nitty gritty without ever leaving documentary evidence, which is amazing. This is set in a slightly different period. This is set in the reign of the Emperor Commodus, and the main character is a man named Rufinus. But Rufinus, he is a Praetorian. He is the aforementioned loyal soldier. But the main mastermind in his life is Septimius Severus, who we readers, Rufinus doesn't know this, but we readers know that Septimius Severus will become emperor. But in these books, he is just the ultimate arch schemer. Not necessarily evil, but a very charismatic character. You want more of him whenever he's not on the page. You want more of him. Although that's not to slight Rufinus, who is he is very much in the line of Corvinus. Those of you who know your Roman murder mysteries or are fans of the Roman murder mysteries either have an effete bureaucrat like Metellus in the SPQR series, or like Pliny himself in one Roman murder mystery, or they have a tough guy as the main character. The Medicus, the series Medicus, is pretty much the only one I can think of that straddles the line between those two. But Rufinus is very much a tough guy. And in the previous book, in this series, the third book, he is thought to have died it turns out when this book begins, he is a dead man. Everyone thinks he's dead. He's grown out a beard even though he hates it. It's the fashion of the time, but he hates growing out beards. And he's done it anyway to disguise himself. And he's taken on a false name because his enemies in Rome, he returns to Rome in this book, and his enemies don't know that he's dead, which gives him a huge advantage. Although it also cuts him off from support networks and makes all sorts of subterfuge necessary. There is a plot here. There is a murder-oriented plot, and he has a cast. There's a small cast of regular characters in these books. Unfortunately, my favorite member of that cast is an enormous dog, and he is not in this book. Only glancingly is he in this book. He has a wonderful bit in this book, but he's mostly not in here because, Rufinus walking around in an assumed character with a new beard would be pretty much given away by the presence of this signature dog who's as big as a horse. So but the love interest, the female love interest, who has been largely underplayed in the first 3 books, she comes into her own in this book. Rufinus is much better drawn in this book than he was in the earlier 3. There is a plot that he is pulled into, but there's also a plot of his own making because a very high Roman official named Cleander is pretty much the power behind the throne, and Rufinus hates him. and that fuels the whole book. And the author of this series, I think the Praetorian books, the author is incredibly prolific. He has like 30 books on ancient Rome under his belt. And I think the Praetorian books are available in paperback in the UK. I don't think they're available at all, except in ebook form in America. I've certainly never seen a physical copy of these books. I think he might have a paperback deal in the UK. And the first book in the series, I think, is called The Great Game. Pretty sure of that. That was from 2014 or 2015. So if the premise, 2nd century Rome, is not a usual setting for books like this, and Commodus and Septimius Severus are also not usual tentpole name recognition characters, if that interests you, then you probably want to get the first book in the series, The Great Game. And that, if you're in the UK, you could probably get a paperback of that. But the series is well done. The author is a Yorkshireman through and through. And that comes through in the books because he pretty much avoids any kind of artistic falderall. There is no attempt made anywhere in here for any character to reflect in any kind of deep or thought-provoking way. There is no attempt at extremely scenic or moving description. It's charming, and it very much helps with the book's many action sequences. But it still made me smile every once in a while. I wanted to say, just because in real life you sound like Judge Ollie Oliphant doesn't mean you have to write like him. but to each his own, right? Each author to his own strengths. This author knows not to stretch it. And as a result, these books have a very two-fisted feel to them, a very gripping, immediate feel to them. Okay, well, it doesn't matter because you were seeing largely a reflection of my chin, so it doesn't matter. My Kindle is a sturdy device, but I keep meaning to make it a little sturdier. I could easily do that. It has, I believe, it has external memory. I could make a lot more use of that than I do, and I could also root the thing so that I'm not dependent on Amazon anymore. So I just get an Android device that's fully functional. I keep meaning to do that. It is rooting a device like this is virtually foolproof. The great peril that came with rooting devices like this 10 years ago is largely gone, largely because Amazon buys these things in job lots and then puts a very thin Amazon skin over them. And if the Amazon skin is easy to slap on there, then it's easy to take off without hurting the device. I just haven't done it yet, that's all. I have a couple of these things, and they're $50. So even if I do destroy the device, it's still not a problem. I can just get another one and try again. But I have only read the Praetorian books in ebook. And of course, I'm a huge fan of ebooks. Absolutely love them. I can read this thing while I'm eating. I can read it. It remembers where I am. I can take a book's length of notes if I want without defacing anything. That's the huge drawback, of course, is that I don't own the book, which you would think would be the ultimate deal breaker. I am leasing the book. The price that I paid for it is to lease it. And Amazon, for instance, could withdraw it from this device with the press of a button. They have access to it at all times. They don't surrender that access when they sell it to me. I can't resell it. I can't do anything like that with it. And unfortunately, the ebook revolution that was promised 15 years ago has kind of fizzled. And ebook readers have kind of become just accustomed to the DVR nonsense, to the fact that they're not owning the things they buy. That should not happen. That kind of complacency should not happen. This ought not to be the case. This should have been settled and wiped out a long time ago. And it's not true with all ebooks. You will often find them now. It's probably noticed on them that the author has decided to remove that, so that when you download the book, it is yours permanently and to do with whatever you want. That's the way they should all be. But I don't, one way or another, that is a small price to pay for me in terms of the huge reach that I get from ebooks, the huge reach that I get from this little device that plugs me into reading worlds that I would otherwise never find. I would never see a copy of the Praetorian novels in paperback. In America, I doubt that I ever would. I never have. I might maybe see them at the Brattle if somebody brought one over on a flight and then left it here, but that's rare. This way I get access to all of it and everything else that the author's ever done online, and everybody else, all the other authors as well. So in a couple of times more in the month of March, from March Mystery Madness, we're going to deal with a few Kindle discoveries of mine. Because if they're discoveries of mine, they can be discoveries of yours. You have a device just like this. I think Lions of Rome is like $4 to buy. Where are you going to find a novel like that? It's a finished, exciting novel, a historical novel that's very, very accurate without being snooty about it. Of course, a Yorkshireman's not going to be snooty. They don't have it in their DNA. But this author really does not want someone to write and tell him you got this fact wrong, that fact wrong. The research here is thorough. So I want to recommend this series. Lions of Rome is the one that's on my mind because I just finished it. And it was very satisfying, especially the double punch ending. There's a double punch ending that I really liked. This author tried that. He did something like that once before in the second book in this series, and it worked, but it works much better here. Much better. This is no airs, no arts fiction. If you're in the mood for that, you're going to love this. You'd be paging right through it. Lions of Rome is on my mind because I just read it, but I do want to recommend this series. It's a slice of ancient Rome that you probably haven't read a lot about in fiction. But I think I'd probably recommend the first book in the series, The Great Game. I'd probably start there. Make the acquaintance of Rufinus. Make the acquaintance of Commodus and of Septimius Severus and the dog Archeron. Make their acquaintance first, and then move through it. If the new book is $3 or $4, then God knows how cheap the first book is, so you should be fine. That's another thing. Another nice thing about ebooks. Discoveries like this that I make and want to pass on is that, unlike with a lot of books we see on this channel, I don't have to worry about the cost. You can afford $3. So there you go. That is March Mystery Madness for today. An ancient Roman mystery. I don't think we're going to have any more of those this month. But I wanted to get at least one in because I love so many murder mystery series set in ancient Rome. I love so many of them, from SPQR to, the Corvinus mysteries to a whole bunch of others that I had to have one at least in there. So we're gonna wrap this up for now. Sorry about the reflection and the dim light, but we have other things to talk about. So I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.